back, Title Tribe. My name is Justin Stevens. We are back with you for another episode of TGIF. This guy is fragile. Speaking of this guy is fragile, I'm under the weather. I'm kind of beat up. As of right now, I'm questionable for week 4.
You're weak and soft.
Yes, I am struggling. That's the creepy voice of none other than Joe J. Clark, but we'll get to him in just a second. We got to say thank you real quick to a very special person out there. George is actually off for good reason. He's out for week 4 for good reason, for family matters. He has a young man that he considers to be practically a son of his own, and he is at his military graduation this weekend. So thank you very much to that young man. Thank you, George, for helping obviously lead that young man in the right direction. And speaking of young men, we have the replacement, the ultimate replacement coming in for George, the young man himself, Joe J. Clark. Buddy, how's it going?
Good. I appreciate that really lofty description there. I'm just kind of like the guy that, like the bench player you throw in who hits like 240, but you can count on him. You can count on him to, like, get you through a game or two. So I appreciate that. But it's great to be here on TGIF for the first time.
I got to disagree with you, man, because I guess I agree we could just throw you in whenever we need you here and there. But I feel like you've been on like every show this week. You're all over the place this week. You're a madman.
I was on. It's funny because Nate asked me yesterday if I could fill in, because Nate, our compadre here at Toilets of Titles, has been our in-house Packers fan, has been having technical difficulties, and I subbed in for After Dark Wednesday night. And then he asked if I could sub in, what was it, yesterday afternoon? He asked if I could sub in for the Packers show that they were going to do, him and Bobby, after the Thursday night game. And I said, I'm sorry, man. I said, I gotta bow out on this one. I said, I built it the night before. I'm doing TGIF, and I was doing website stuff last night anyway, as I was watching the game. I'm like, I just can't. Doing what I can, though.
For those of you that don't know, if you don't know, you're living under a rock, but he's talking about how Nate's our resident Packer man. Joe is our resident Giants fan, not just Giant fan, but our Giants insider. So, Joe, tell them where they can find your Giants Corner.
Yeah, well, it is called New York Giants Corner, and it is now Wednesday mornings, airs around 8. Well, we release the recording around 8 a.m. Wednesday morning. That's 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. New York Giants Corner. I am the in-house Giants fan. We got another Giants fan that joined recently. We also have Oscar, who's been in the Gilded Chat for a little while now. Going to start getting those guys on if they'd like to come on, just at least as some guests. And but it's been a bumpy start. And but you know what? We're only 3 games into the season, so I'm ever the optimist.
Yeah, I still
however stupid I am.
They've got a shot at the wild card still, I believe.
I'm still thinking Super Bowl, buddy.
Well, I mean, you can't get to the Super Bowl unless you get in the playoffs. So wild card's a good start.
That's true. Listen, we only got 14 games to go, so we'll get there. We'll get there.
All right. So speaking of getting there, we've gotten there. So here we are, TGIF. This guy is fragile. We're going to be talking about injury updates and news. I want to make sure that I plug our Gilded channel, guys. We've got 240 people in the Gilded chat that are constantly talking all things football. We have an injury channel in there. We have Start Sit channel. We've got Trade Advice channel. Anything you can think of is in there, anything and everything. And also make sure you hit that like, subscribe, and that bell to get the notifications for when all of our shows go live so you can check them out. So we're going to start off with the quarterbacks like we always do. That's the meat and potatoes of the NFL are the quarterbacks. I'm going to start off with Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow, he does not have a designation. He's playing this week. Do want to kind of mention, though, the fantasy doctors are saying there's an increased risk of injury for the next 4 weeks. So they're saying maybe right now is the time to try to sell him high. He did kind of end that last game in week 3 on a high note. If he has another big week this week, they're saying maybe try to trade him before another injury happens. Because if the fantasy doctors are saying there's a high risk of injury, I kind of tend to listen to them.
Yeah, but I also look at the player's history too, and Joe Burrow has a history of playing through stuff like this. Like, I actually wasn't surprised when he really killed it the other night. What was it? Was it Monday night? No. Well, the other night when they played, he had that great game against the Rams, and playing on the bad calf, and like he's done that before. And fantasy doctors, absolutely. I'm not. No, they are 100%. you can roll with those guys. But I also look at the player themselves and their history, and like,
right.
He's got a history of succeeding, with this type of adversity.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Pat Mahomes, they say he has a right lateral ankle sprain and a mild MCL sprain, and it says no concern. Honestly, he could be missing a leg, and I wouldn't be too concerned. So we're
Took
playing
the words out of my mouth.
Pat Mahomes. Yeah, we're gonna play Pat Mahomes, but Derek Carr is the one that we're a little bit more worried about here. So he is officially out as of right now. I read one report that said that he could miss potentially up to 3 weeks, like maybe even up to week 7, because it is his throwing arm. So that's the concern. Usually AC sprains, it's just pain tolerance, and I was kind of surprised he was even out this week, but I didn't realize it was his throwing arm until I read that report. So
yeah.
I don't know.
That's why I always coach young quarterbacks to be ambidextrous and to be able to throw the ball from both hands.
Smart man.
For these types of situations.
This is also why Joe's Pee Wee League teams never win a game.
we're still winless for over the past 5 years, and I'm trying to keep that streak going.
He's got kids out there throwing the ball with their left hand. Other kids trying to catch.
But I'm a righty, Coach. Coach Clark, shut up. Warm up that left hand.
Quit blocking. Quit blocking like this. Stand on your arms and block. You got to learn how to block.
It's not like you're making it to the NFL anyway, kid.
All right. Yeah, we're definitely not going to hit 20 minutes. Anthony Richardson, concussion protocol. He's out of the protocol. He is in the game, returning week 4. So, let's hope he learned how to fall properly.
He's got some Danny Dimes in him there. Yeah. Watch those hits he takes. Learn how to slide. Take some sliding lessons from baseball players. But I'm actually looking to pick him up. He's actually, excuse me, maybe I'm catching your cough here. He's actually available, surprisingly, in like 1 or 2 of my fantasy leagues, one of quarterback leagues. But I like to have backups if I've got this, if I got the space, and I'm going to be actually just you know what? I guess when we get off right now, I'm going to try to get him if someone else hasn't snapped him up. But I was waiting for like the updated designation. But I'm getting him because I forgot who my backup was. Might have been like Mac Jones. I just wanted an NFL starter as a backup. Yeah. Might have been Mac Jones. I'm like, dude, I'd rather go for a player who can, also run it in for. So I'm glad to hear that. I am also a big supporter of Anthony Richardson, a big believer, I should say.
More so than me.
You'll grow into it. He's that dude's a keeper. He's a keeper.
And with his legs, he has the potential of being a top 5 quarterback in any given
that cannon, week, man. So. Dude, you're looking at Josh Allen, man. I'm telling you, man.
Yeah. Yep. Deshaun Watson has a shoulder contusion, dip in volume. So I think that they're saying they're going to probably likely throw it a little bit more that's probably what they mean by dip in volume. And then he's going to play through the pain. It says he's definitely in. Nothing else really big stands out. Bryce Young is coming back this week after I had initially heard that he could possibly miss week 4 as well. With him back, Thielen, Chark, I mean, none of these guys are worth anything with Bryce Young back. So keep that in mind. Running backs. I want to start with the running back, Joe. If we've got the Giants guy on, we've got to talk about the running back. So tell us what's going on in New York.
Well, he had I'm actually unsure of what happened today. I did check out Giants news before I came on here, and most of that news was actually about Andrew Thomas, the left tackle who we were hopeful was going to be playing this upcoming week against Seattle. And he practiced a little bit yesterday, light practice, didn't practice today. So that's not a good sign for Andrew Thomas. Saquon Barkley practiced yesterday. I really didn't see anything on him. So I think it's just really, like he could go out there if they wanted to.
The Fantasy Pros does say that he did practice again at another limited basis today.
Yeah. And the thing is, I think it's going to be up to the coaches and Barkley. And me, myself, I'd rather wait till this guy is either 100% or closer to that. I really don't know. I have seen it before play with a high ankle sprain a few years ago. And for like 5 or 6 weeks, it was actually Jones's rookie year, 2019. And it lasted for a while. And you could totally see he was a totally pedestrian running back with the high ankle sprain. So I'd rather wait to get him right.
Yep.
I don't think he's going to be all that helpful. But there you go.
Yeah, at this point, that division is going to be tough to win anyway, and you got a real shot at a wild card spot if you play smart. Having an injured Saquon Barkley is not playing very smart.
Yeah.
All right, so Joe, before we continue with the running backs, you mind if I pay some bills real quick?
Yeah, go for it.
All right, so joinrival.com/title tribe. You want to go to joinrival.com/title tribe if you're ready for the newest evolution in fantasy sports betting. They have $1 fantasy bingo cards, and I hit in week 2. I won like $450 in fantasy bingo. Can't beat that. But I almost won 2 weeks in a row. Joe,
I saw that.
If
what did
Justin
you miss
Tucker,
by? What was the miss?
Justin Tucker hit a field goal against the Colts. Had he missed, because he already missed one, had he missed the other one and he did not have a single field goal against the Colts, then I would have hit another bingo. So because that's the thing about the bingo, though, like some of the bingo achievements said your field goal kicker gets 3 or more field goals. Some of them say your field goal kicker gets 0 field goals. So you don't know if you want to get a good kicker or a bad kicker. So it's kind of dumb luck, but there is some strategy. And I have talked about that on last week's Friendly Fire. And I'll be recording this week's Friendly Fire tonight or tomorrow, but it's going to be dropping tomorrow night at 6 p.m. So make sure you check that out. But at joinrival.com/title tribe, your first deposit of up to $200 is going to be matched. Then they're going to give you an additional $25 just for using that link right down there below, joinrival.com/title tribe. And speaking of links down below, here's another one for you, trophysmack.com/title tribe. Get yourself a discount on championship belts, on championship rings, a championship bling, a lot of different stuff that they
Can I get a grill? Can I get a championship grill?
I guarantee you that if you send an email to them and you request that, they could probably come up with something for you, Joe.
With rubies and sapphires.
I think that's all you're missing, really. I think that's it. That finishes the ensemble. You can bring back the shades. I was watching an old YouTube video from before, and you had your shades on. It was awesome.
That was my incognito phase.
And then the last bill payment here, patreon.com/title tribe or /toilets and titles, patreon.com/toilets and titles. We're up to like almost 50 Patreons at this point. So you guys are absolutely killing it. You're helping us out greatly. We've got some things in the works for some big giveaways later, especially possibly a nice little mostly paid for trip to Canton at the Fantasy Football Expo in August. So we don't know how many of those we're going to give out, but we've got some plans. So you want to join the Patreon, just trust me, because the longer you've been a Patreon, the more entrants you're going to get for those bigger prizes. The higher the level you're in, the more entries you get for those bigger prizes. Yep. But even at the $1.50 or $1.50 level, you're still entered into some of the prizes giveaways that we do. We've given away autographed pictures, autographed cards. We've given away a lot of stuff, mini helmets. Like Coach just has all kinds of stuff that he just keeps giving away.
I'll tell you, you can kind of refer to that as, take Coach's money, because Coach love it. He sent me some money today just for, putting in some extra work this week. And I responded, I said, A, I said, stop spending your money. And B, I said, thank you anyway. I'll enjoy the beers. Really. Thank you. But he loves to give stuff away. So, I've got deep pockets and short arms. So don't come looking to me. Go get Coach's money.
There you go. Yep. That's been the plan all along, man. Hopefully it becomes more of a frequent thing for you. Let's see. We've got the running backs. So we've already talked about Saquon. I want to talk about Austin Ekeler. That's the next big thing. According to this, it says that he's out again.
That's what I've been seeing too in some of the news on him.
Yeah. So high ankle. It says that it's likely mild. So that tells me that they're probably they're probably just being precautious, and it says that they're going to use the bye week to get him healthier, be back in week 6. I guess that means that the Chargers must have a week 5 bye. So for those of us that own a lot of Austin Ekeler, like this hurts, but trust me, in the end, you're going to appreciate this extra week off. So maybe you lose this week, but during that stretch where you're trying to fight for a playoff spot, you're gonna love it. So, was it Josh Kelly out there?
Yeah. Yep.
So,
Kelly. So
go
I mean,
get Kelly.
they're doing a fine passing the ball anyway. So
Oh yeah, yeah. And
Herbert and his wide receivers are smoking hot. I like to see it.
We're going to talk about Mike Williams here in a little bit, unfortunately, but yeah, definitely.
They only need to overcome the Brandon Staley factor. That's it. Can they overcome that?
We're talking fantasy football here. We don't talk about Staley. In fact, sometimes Staley's dumb decisions help us in fantasy football.
Oh, yeah. No, I just hate to see it for Herbert because I like him a lot.
Yeah, that's fair. Let's see. Gus Edwards did not suffer a concussion. That's always good. So he's definitely in. He was actually the only new one added to this list. I mean, there's been new updates, but he was the only the new player addition to this.
I'm sorry, is Edwards still expected not to play?
No, he's definitely in. They said he did not suffer a concussion, so he's in.
Gotcha. Well, he'll be back on next week. He's a Ravens running back.
Yeah, that's very fair. Derrick Henry is in. Isaiah Pacheco is in. We already know not only is David Montgomery in, he was very in last night against the Packers. Let's see. Miles Sanders is in. Jerome Ford is in. So Savon Ahmed is a maybe. They're giving him a 50-50 right now. Groin strain, likely a grade 1, which means it's not that serious. So if he doesn't go, I mean, at this point, I don't think Savon Ahmed really matters all that much after seeing.
Yeah, good luck getting snaps, Ahmed.
Poor guy. Let's see. Tyjae Spears is in, which is good for him because I think that turf toe issue for Derrick Henry is a lot more serious than they want to lead on, and Tyjae is going to slowly get more and more carries. They need to bench Derrick Henry for a couple of weeks.
You know what? I heard you say that the other night on one of the episodes, and I agree with you, Justin. Like, I think it is affecting him a lot, and what worries me is that it's not affecting him enough for him to go like on IR, and that he's going to continue to play, and they're going to let him continue to play because he is Derrick Henry. And he is a tough dude. He's a tough dude. Don't get me wrong. He's played with injuries before. I'm not slamming him or anything, but that's what worries me is that they're going to let him continue to play. If he is playing injured, if he is kind of like ineffective, they're going to let him play because he is Derrick Henry, and that does worry me.
And that's part of the problem.
Owner.
Yeah, being that tough because turf toe is one of the things he played through before. And he played through it effectively. And what you're referring to, I actually said late last week before the 2-point fantasy week that Derrick Henry gave you guys. Like I was even telling you then, Tyjae is going to be getting more reps because of this injury. And
I've got Spears.
What's that?
I've got Spears on I'm in 4 fantasy leagues. I've got Spears in 2 of them on my bench, just waiting for something to happen.
Yeah, unfortunately, you can't play him right now because Henry's still playing. But I'm telling you, if that turf toe becomes an issue and he's out, Tyjae Spears is going to be a top 10 fantasy back nearly every week. He has that kind of explosion. He just needs to be in the game long enough to get in the groove to get going.
Yeah.
Let's see. Alvin Kamara, he's back. He's back. He's not going to be Alvin Kamara of 2 or 3 years ago. Don't get me wrong. But he's a number 1 running back on your fantasy rosters that you've been holding for 3 weeks. So congratulations. Reap what you sow. I hope he comes out and he gets you a touchdown this week and gets you a nice, decent game in your flex position. Let's see. I think that's pretty much it, unless you see anything glaring in the running backs.
No, I think it would thoroughly cover the running backs there.
All right. Very good. Very good.
Let's move on to those WRSs.
All right. Well, first, before that, W.GG promo code Title Tribe. So W is a powdered energy drink. It's a non-jittery energy drink. Nate swears by them. We put them on the show notes here for me to bring them up in case you're into powdery energy drinks. Like I said, Nate loves them. He's been back to work the last few weeks, and he said it's the only thing that's keeping him going, and he doesn't get the crash at the end, and he doesn't get the jitters during the experience because it's made up of mostly all natural stuff. So it's a natural high. So he loves it. And then toiletstitles.com, where you can find our articles and all of our speaking of articles, Joe is also our editor. So Joe does a little bit of everything, but he has his hands deep with Campy in the in the website. So whenever you see all the pretty things, that's because he's making magic happen. I wish I could talk more about the website, but I don't understand that stuff like they do. All right, wide receivers. So let's see. So the big one the big new one that jumps in, obviously Justin Jefferson, but it looks like that was mostly just cramping during the game. So he's going to be fine. If you've been living under a rock this week, don't let it scare you too much. What do you think, Joe, about Deebo Samuels, though? It's a rib fracture and bruised cartilage. It says that he's likely game time decision. If he goes or if he doesn't go, because we also have Brandon Ayuk on the same injury list. It looks like Ayuk's definitely in, but his is an AC sprain.
I saw that today.
So it says to expect dips in his stats all the way up through week 7 for Brandon Ayuk. Like, he's going to play, but if his stats are dipping and Deebo doesn't play, like, are we scared about injuries here, or are we just picking up the next receiving option?
Yeah, listen, it's the 49ers. They make things happen. They're that type of team. Like, whoever the next wide receiver option is for San Francisco, I'd give it a serious look. Deebo, I don't know. I avoid surprisingly, and I love what's that?
Juwan Jennings. He's the next man up. Or maybe Ray McLeod.
Yeah, there you go. And because they are going to get their opportunities. San Francisco is not just a running game. It's just their passing game thrives off the running success. This is why I kind of avoid Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk, just because usually they're gone by round 3 anyway. And but I get scared off by players who have injury histories, and Ayuk is certainly at that top, and Deebo Samuel's kind of not far behind, even though I love their talent. Listen, I play it safe. 49ers are a serious Super Bowl contender if I'm them. There's no reason to, what are they, 3-0 right now? There's no reason to, to really push it with these guys. Heck, you could beat 85% of the teams in this league, just with your defense and your running game alone.
Yeah, especially their defense and running game. And also to that point, now Christian McCaffrey just goes from being the number 1 running back in fantasy football to a higher level number 1 running back in fantasy football. Now he's going to get more dump offs. So
I got him in one of my leagues at least. So that's great news.
I feel like the whole defense could just key on CMC and he's still going to get his.
Yeah.
See, for those of you in deeper leagues, Jonathan Mingo is new on the list, and he still has yet to clear the concussion protocol as of this morning, Friday morning. So make sure you're paying close attention to that. I feel like, though, with Bryce Young back, you kind of want to be careful with starting Jonathan Mingo anyway, even if it's a deeper league, if he's coming off a concussion. But speaking of concussions, we get another big guy back, Jalen Waddle, who I know was on the sidelines, like licking his chops at all those fantasy points that were being gathered up by the rest of those Miami Dolphins. Like, he wanted a piece of that action.
Oh my gosh.
70 points.
Yep. And that was without Waddle. Incredible. Incredible. And hello, Devon Achane.
Yeah, man. A-Chain was off the chain.
Yeah, seriously.
Another new one on the list, Calvin Ridley, MCL sprain. This says expect him to have a bounce back week in week 4. So I think because Ridley didn't, I don't think he ever missed a week, did he? I think he still played. I don't have him in any leagues, but
me neither.
I don't recall him doing any work at least. So they're expecting him to bounce back this week. So if they say big bounce back week, so I would expect it, or at least expect them to attempt to get him the ball more. Another new one, Jerry Jeudy knee injury. It says no details, but it also says he's definitely in and playing. But I would imagine if he has some kind of tweaks going on. So I have a note written down here to talk about this one in particular because Jerry Jeudy, if Jerry Jeudy, even if he plays and he's going to be kind of limited out there, the Bears, did you know that the Bears don't actually even have a defense? Like, they don't ever even get off the bus. Well, the few guys that they do have, they have 3 secondary players that are all out this week. So whatever guys do
Yeah.
come out there and stand out there and make it look like they have 11 so they don't get a penalty, I'd go ahead and fire up Mims. And even though I'm the guy that always says it's never Sutton, I mean,
You got him.
I would start me against that defense at this point. It's that pathetic. So,
yeah. And I'm with you. Like Sutton, like I used to be a big defender of Sutton. After last year, I'm like, I'm done. I'm just done. And I did pick him up, at least in one of my 4 leagues, just because I felt like the value was like where I picked him, wherever it was, like round 8 or 9 or something like that. The value I thought was too crazy. I'm like, he is like, a legitimate starter, potential wide receiver 1. And I do like him more of a Jerry Jeudy. I think Jeudy flat out stinks. That's me.
Yeah. Yep, I agree. I agree on both accounts. So the next 3 guys are all at least somewhat fantasy relevant, or at least you drafted them to be somewhat fantasy relevant, probably as your wide receiver 3 or your flex wide receiver, and you were hoping one of them would take off. Zay Jones, Odell Beckham Jr., and Rashad Bateman are all out. Don't start any of them. But the one that stands out to me there actually is Zay Jones. I appreciate the fact that they're sitting him out another week. Because it says it's a mild PCL sprain. So whenever he comes back, though, that's whenever him and Calvin Ridley are going to be phenomenal. If you remember in week 1, they both balled out. And I get it was against the Colts, but the Colts have shown they actually have a pretty tough defense this year. And those 2 were able to ball out. I feel like when they're both healthy and they're gonna spell each other on the opposite side of the field, they're both going to be able to eat, because the defense isn't going to know who to cover. Calvin Ridley can run routes like nobody I've ever seen before. And Zay Jones is highly underrated in his ability to catch at the high point. So, so I really appreciate Zay Jones for that, because he's cheap in fantasy as well. So now he's going to be even cheaper. Go get your Zay Jones that are out there and available right now, and you can thank me later. Let's see. Nothing really to talk about with tight ends. Tight ends, they're living the high life right now. Everybody's in. Everybody's playing. Nothing serious.
I guess the only thing on there was, Darren Waller, Monday Night Football game against Seattle. Level of concern was moderate, but it looks like everything's good. He's expected to play. No problem there.
Now, they do say that there's a mild re-injury concern to Darren Waller, though. So that's always a little bit concerning, but at least it's mild. Usually, if they say mild, they mean less than 25% likelihood, in their opinion.
Right. And the way he's got, honestly, like the catches he's had, like he's taken some body shots. Jones has got to do a better job of leading his receivers, including Waller, because they've been taking some body shots across the middle. So, and Waller, the past few years, we know has had history of injury, which is why he was probably traded. But yeah, so Jones has got to do a better job of leading his receivers.
One last thing I want to leave you guys with before we head out. There is a long list of guys that started the season off on the short-term IR, okay? And that short-term IR lasts through 4 weeks. This is going to be week 4, which means a lot of these players are going to be eligible to return after this week. I'm not saying they're going to return, but they're going to be eligible to return. So you need to look at that list. You need to monitor those guys, because some of them may be guys that you might be interested in maybe picking up for the future. And if you wait until after week 4, everybody's going to be targeting them. Case in point, Deontay Johnson. All right. So now his is going to last 1 more week, because he did play in week 1. So his doesn't end until after week 5. But when he comes back, he's the wide receiver 1 on a team that has to throw the ball a lot, right? So
on paper, that guy stinks.
I agree, Joe. But last year it was because he didn't catch touchdown passes.
He's as stinky as Najee Harris. They both stink. Give me George Pickens and give me Jalen Warren.
So he's your Cortland Sutton to me. So here's the thing about Deontay Johnson, though. Had he just caught 2 more touchdowns last year, he would have been a wide receiver 2. Like, people don't realize that because he drops so many balls. He could be so much better if he didn't stink at catching the ball.
Yeah, that guy's ass.
All right. Well, how about a guy that I know for sure you don't think is ass, and that's Cooper Kupp. What do you think of him?
Oh, I love Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, everybody loves Kupp. We got.
Yeah, how could you not? Man, how could you not be intrigued by seeing him and Nakua and Atwell? You could throw some Atwell in there too, but him and Nakua together, like, what can they do with Stafford at QB? Like, it's gonna be fun to see. It's gonna be very fun to see.
Yep. Yep. Another one that was added later, so I believe he's eligible to return like after week 5 or 6 is Taquan Thornton for New England. Let's see, Jeff Wilson be eligible to return after week 4, but unfortunately, I don't think there's much room in that backfield for him anymore. But on the Cooper Kupp thing, real quick, I do want to remind you guys, I've said it a dozen times in the last 2 weeks on several different shows, but this is possibly a bigger concern than people think. Just because he's eligible to come back after week 4 does not mean he's coming back after week 4. As a matter of fact, there is even a concern that it could even be a rare disorder that's keeping him from his hamstring from being able to heal properly. If they're right about that, if that's the case, it could even potentially be season ending if he doesn't get that hamstring properly healed. I mean, and so I don't want to say that to scare people off from Kupp, because these guys, these fantasy doctors, like, yes, they have people that they talk to within the teams. Many of them are or have been team doctors themselves. They still have friends that are team doctors. They talk and communicate, but the team doctors aren't necessarily allowed to give up all the real information either. These guys are trying to base what they see off of video, off of reports, off of circumstantial stuff. So they could be wrong. All right. But if they're right about this, then I think Puka's a guy that you could get cheap right now, because people are scared of Puka's stats with Kupp coming back. But even if Kupp comes back, Puka has proven he's going to get his run.
They're going to be throwing the ball over in LA with the Rams. They're going to be throwing the ball no matter what. They don't have a legit running game. And so they're going to be throwing the ball. That's their bread and butter. So, yeah, maybe Nakua, maybe he won't be getting 15 targets, a ridiculous number like that out of necessity when Kupp comes back, but he's going to be getting his targets because they're going to be throwing the ball.
Yep. And also I'm kind of wrong a lot too. So I want to throw this out there. Jonathan Taylor is not going to re-sign with the Colts. He's not going to be able to get that kind of money from them. We're hoping that he's able to at least get traded to a team that can appreciate him and utilize him, and he can show his talents elsewhere. But at the end of the day, hopefully I'm wrong and the Colts pay him.
Yeah, I hear you, man. I hear you. It's a tough situation, Jonathan Taylor. I don't know. It's the same thing with the Giants and Barkley. Like, I don't know. I'd love to see them keep him too, but I want them to keep Barkley. I love Barkley. He's such a team player, and he's just such a great player. But I digress.
Joe, I think we've hit everything. Guys, don't forget to check out all our other shows on the network, and we appreciate your time, Joe. I absolutely especially appreciate you coming on and helping us out, my man.
No, thanks for having me on. It's my first time on TGIF. You guys have never thought ever to invite me before, and I'm happy to, come in and fill in for George, even though you guys never invited me on before. Totally cool. It's all right, Justin.
Yeah, I mean, there has to be a first time eventually. Neither of us have ever missed the show, so
it's okay.
It's hard to keep it at 2 minutes if I have 3 guys on, especially when 2 of them talk forever.
Yeah, I know. We can do that. We got that. We got that in us.
A show with just you and George would last 2 hours.
Holy cow! It's like the show should just be called "Who Can Talk Longer." Talk till you drop, or something like that.
All right. Have a great night, guys. Thanks for tuning in, and good luck in week 4.
Take care, everyone.